Morning. 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 So, access for the on the computers. Nope, I don't have anything.
What's the username and password everyone
We'll see if you can start a good meeting with your login.
What's the number?
Can we just announce that?
You could always log into the system over here. The username is OIR FMC event.
I know. Okay.
And the password is pass it along.
Those of you with your own laptops, the Wi-Fi, it's going to be UCF guest. And once you connect to that, it's going to bring up UCF's agreement page, and you just click OK, and you can connect to the Wi-Fi.
Is everything set?
So what the whole thing?
Yes, I'm just passing it
Oh,
on.
it doesn't. Okay.
Then, not sure. 740, 493, 709.
Alright.
Does everybody have a login into eBuilder?
No.
No?
Okay.
Got this off over here.
I keep saying into that. Yes.
builder login information.
Alrighty. Okay, I'll start over here.
I received there.
I don't think anybody did. Anybody else know the password?
Password is Josh itself, the 0 is not an O.
That's the password for the Max, right?
Okay, so I'd like to. Hey Ed, can you stop sharing your screen right now, please? Okay. All right. So I'd like to ask if you do not have your login information, if you can just send me an email here to this email address, and if you could just include the your company name, please. So that's first name, last name, and company name. Thank you all very much. Oops. Sorry about that. Everybody see that? Yes.
It'll take a minute to come through. Sorry? It should take a few minutes to come through.
You should have the third already. Do you have a login? No.
So when you get your email, it's going to send you a temporary password. That password is what you're going to use to log into eBuilder initially. and then you're going to be prompted to change the password.
Oh, you're changing that one to the.
Beginning of the password.
So if we're using your computer, which email service do
If you're using these
you
computers,
use? Computers, yeah.
what
Well, when you're sending to this email address, you can use
Internet access.
do you have access into your own email,
Personal email?
personal email, or work email?
Not a work email, no.
So, what
I got a personal email.
what company are you with?
Air Mechanical Search School?
Mechanical.
I think it's correct. Bothersome.
So your username Sarah can be your email address. Okay, so and you don't have access to your work email address?
Other than on my phone?
Correct. Right. That's not the same.
Not on here. Because I'm already done. No, in fact, I'm looking at my send box, it's not even showing up. Love your cat. No, I'm getting a send receiver. It's not letting me send it.
Dash. PC.
Nothing.
Yeah. No. See. So you should get an email to your email address. I can no. I'll do it. The S. Okay.
some of you should be receiving an email from eBuilder with your login information. So just check your email is happening by little bit.
Ask you on that. Did you email? Yeah. Joe?
Yeah, it should go just to log into it.
So there's somebody else in my office, like admin staff, that I want to have access to, so I probably need to get her sent to her. You can probably. I want to do that guy right there, Vignesh, the person that initially invited you guys here. Yeah. Send him an email, and then he can create the login. Okay. It's really good.
Although I've got my 18 emails.
passing along the sign-in sheet again. You could just put in a small bracket or you're an ED or a GC, that'll help us in the right world. Okay, then we'll do a roll.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Jeff Kirkman.
Yeah.
AE or GC?
Hey,
AE. All right. Linda.
Yes.
AE or GC?
Pardon?
Are you an AE or a GC?
I am an adult.
Uh,
New hire with.
AE.
AE.
Sign sheet.
Okay.
Oh my God.
Some of it I can pretty much. Some of it it's architecture. Straightforward. But the thing is, Joe's gonna be GC.
How long should it take for your password?
It should be, there's still just a few that are outstanding. So, what's your name?
Paul.
Yeah, Paul Herrera?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, it should be, just another minute. So
Okay, I just want to make sure I didn't get something wrong. Right.
You do have access to the internet, right? To pull in your email.
No, not on my computer. For some reason, it's just blocking it. I'm going to my phone.
So you didn't get it on your phone yet?
No.
Okay.
I couldn't get out. I had to send my name and company through my phone.
Okay, is there anyone who still has not received their login information? Wow.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, we definitely sent it. I will resend it.
Yeah, you don't.
Yeah,
Not instead of dash.
no, I think that's what we have here. amsco-ac.com. Yes. So I'm just going to send it out again.
You know, just manually set it.
Yeah.
Just go into EBS and tools and set it.
Okay. Okay. That maybe I have to do something.
So you have roles.
Yeah, pretty much, and I'm on assignment projects and setting
We'll finish this up.
um, uh,
We're all logged in. Is there anyone who has not been able to log in?
let's make sure they're all situated on their homepage. They've got a project. If not, it's slowly being added right now.
Yeah.
Actually, do you want to continue with this?
Yeah, that's what I was saying.
All right. So
Just started.
number 12 is up. Assign someone to 12, and then I'm working off of this right here, but double check here. So,
Okay.
Alright.
Yeah.
then you're going to start
Last login or lead added?
last login.
Okay.
Start with 12.
Yeah.
Good morning, guys. How are you guys today?
Pretty good.
Fabulous. Doing wonderful. All right, so welcome to eBuilder training. My name's Edward Ng. I'm with eBuilder, and that's Rob Strong back there. He's also with eBuilder. He'll be assisting you guys navigating around the computers and whatnot. How many of you guys heard about eBuilder before the last week? One? Two? Maybe one? All right. So eBuilder is a construction program management software. So this is, we've been working with UCF to bring in this PMIS into UCF so that they can manage their construction projects on a daily basis, and to help with communication, documentation, and routing of processes and information. So we've been working with the core team over the last 3 to 4 months to get it set up, running, and configured, and we're pretty much done. We're at that point where we're training end users to get everyone in the system. So depending on your project, your projects that you're working with UCF may or may not be in here within the next couple of weeks. It might be another month before your project comes into eBuilder, but eventually it should get in there, and you're going to start to use eBuilder for that moving forward with communication, handling of the documentation, your pay apps, your change orders, your substantial and final completions, and things of that nature. So for today's training, pretty much the very first thing we're going to go through is a general overview of the system and how to navigate around. Then we're going to show you how to look at the project information and the project details. After we go through the project information and details, pretty straightforward over there, we're going to start to work with forms and processes. Forms and processes are pretty much going to be the meat and potato of your daily interaction with the system. So we'll go into that. We'll start working with forms, work with processes. So a form is pretty much a piece of paper that you usually fill out and you hand it to somebody to review or approve, right? So we have electronic versions of that. With processes, or AKA workflows, and I'll use those two terms interchangeably, workflow and process, they're one and the same. It's very, very structured, where it starts from one specific person, then it goes to another specific person, and so on and so forth throughout that entire workflow, so that eventually it's done, it gets approved, the information is there, and you can always look back at it. After that, we'll take a break, then we'll look into the submittals module, how you're going to upload your registry, how you're going to package it up, send it out to your subs, or send it to the AE for reviewing and returning that back. Then we'll briefly look at the schedule module. This is primarily managed by the UCF project manager. So they are in charge of the schedule, but you have visibility into that to see, how that particular project is progressing. After that, we'll finish up with the reports module. We'll just briefly look into reports and how to run a report. And then probably around 11:45 to 12, we'll finish up with an open Q&A session, or we can revisit some other module in the system. Any questions on that? No? Okay. So most of you guys should already be logged into the system, so let's go ahead and get started. So when you first come to eBuilder, this is going to be the main page that you come to. The website is actually e-builder.net. So this is the main eBuilder corporate website. But you really are going to be focused on that login to eBuilder link at the top. And you kind of want to, if you have your own laptop, you can save it as your favorites. But for the most part, you come into the main page, and this is what you will normally log into. Logging into the system will be your email address. After you log in, this is what you'll see, the main homepage. So let me explain a couple things here. All the tabs at the top, dashboard, projects, planning, forms, processes, documents, calendars, so on and so forth, those are the different modules in the system. Most of them you're not really using, like planning or contacts or bidding or cost, things of that nature. You're not going to really be using that, but it's there just to kind of go into. Depending on your role and your permissions, there are certain things you can and cannot do. So those tabs at the top, they are the global view. In other words, if I wanted to look at all of the projects that I have access to, all of the projects in a list, I would simply click on that tab at the top, and I can see a list of projects that I have access to. Another thing is processes. Change orders are processes. Change order is a process. RFI might be a process in the future. That's dependent upon UCF to build that out. Change order substantial completion is a process. Final completion is a process. Pay apps, invoicing is a process. So everything's done through a process. So if you wanted to see what processes are currently open or used for a particular project, you would simply click on the Processes tab, and then you'll see a list of processes, the type of process that's being used, and whose court it's in, who's responsible, and how long it's been sitting in their court. So the way eBuilder works, it's a ball and court mechanism. I start something. If I put that ball in your court, you are responsible for it. Everybody has visibility of it. They can see how long it's been sitting in your court, what you're doing with it, what you're not doing with it, all the information there. So there's a sense of responsibility there with ball and court mechanism. That's primarily done in forms and processes, workflow forms and processes. I'm going to go back to the home page. So these are the different modules at the top. Most of them you will not use. So if you want to hide these tabs at the top, what you can do, those of you that have your own laptop, I think this should carry over with your own profile. Click on that little plus at the top, and you can hide. It's never going away. It's just hiding it from that screen, so you don't clutter your screen with that. You can just take a check off of that planning option, bidding, documents, and dashboards. If you remove that check mark off of those items and save it, you've now decluttered your tabs at the top just by a couple of modules. Again, those are the modules that you don't really use, you're not allowed to use, but they're just there just for show. Alright, so for me, I'm going to just re-enable it, so it's back to my normal view. So again, these are the different modules at the top. In the top right hand corner, you'll see your username. It's going to be your full email address. That's fine. Now you have the like and dislike button. So as you start to use the system more and more, if you see something that you like, you click the thumbs up on it, add a little compliment on it. If you don't like it, your feedback is very important because that goes into our pool where the developers start to take your feedback and start to program and code the system in a better way so that it's a lot more user intuitive, easier for you to use, a lot more fluid. So your feedback is important. One other item in the top right-hand corner, the question mark. Go ahead and click on that right now on your computers. So when you click on that question mark, it opens up the user guide. Depending on what page you're on, it's going to automatically detect that page and provide the information or help on that page. So right now you guys are still on the home page, and at the very top it says, what is the eBuilder home module? When you scroll further down, it starts to identify the sections on that page. Excuse me. It starts to identify the sections on that page and give a brief description about that particular section. What's workflow in your court, processes. If you scroll further down, what are my tasks, submittal items in your court. It gives you an explanation of the information that you see there. Make sense? Simple enough? Okay. Go ahead and close that window, and you should be back at the home page. On the right-hand side, you'll see announcements. It says, please contact your eBuilder support. So, if you run into an issue, you forget a step or two, or need to find some type of information within the system or about the system, you can contact our support department by giving them a call or emailing them. They should be able to get back to you. If you give them a call, you're talking to them right there on the line. If you email them, they should be able to get back to you within a couple hours or maybe even that same day. It really depends on their workload, but yes, they will contact you. Now, that's for questions about using eBuilder, the site itself, not for business-related questions about when should I use this process or how should I use this process with this particular project at UCF. They cannot answer business-related questions about UCF, only about functionality about eBuilder. Make sense? If you have questions about business-related scenarios or use cases, then you want to check with your EB admins, which will be Cheryl Colvin right there. I'm sorry, it's the EB system administrator, I should really say. Matthew Green. And then now we have you guys ever worked with Trey Beck, one of the project managers here? He's one of the EB admins as well. And they can probably field your questions about when to use eBuilder. Will this form be in the eBuilder? Will this process be in eBuilder? They can field those questions for you. Clear?
How do we get in contact with those people? Is that going to be publicly put on here somehow?
I'll probably put
I highly recommend
their information up there. All right.
That's my first feedback.
Yep. Yeah, I'm probably going to put their contact information. They really should be your primary point of contact before you actually reach eBuilder itself. But again, eBuilder is primarily the support team. They're primarily there for how to use eBuilder itself. How do I submit a RFI? How do I, use the submittals module? They'll walk you through that. All right. When we look a little bit further down, we'll see the date. And right now I have two entries right here on my screen. So these are calendar entries. So essentially, I created a calendar event in the system. And since I am logged in, it's telling me a reminder that I have a meeting today, which is, the first one is this training in this group right here. You may or may not see something on yours. It depends on if someone sends you a calendar invite. If someone invites you out of eBuilder, you're going to get that email, that calendar invite in your email. And when you click accept, the system's going to recognize it. And when you log in, you'll see an entry there in the right-hand side. If you decline it, obviously, you're not going to see anything there. If you try to propose a new time, that will not work. It's either yes, I accept it, no, I decline it. or even a tentative. Make sense? All right, so let's look at underneath your name. You'll see workflow in your court. As I mentioned earlier, two of the most powerful components of the system would be forms and processes. It's a ball and court method, so that means when something requires your attention, the ball's in your court, you're going to see it listed right here. That works with a form and a process. Right here down below, it says form and processes. Let me change my profile here. So you guys pretty much don't have anything in your court right now, and we're going to go through a practice run of creating a form and working with some processes. All right. So if something's in your court, you'll see it here. My first 10 tasks. So the project managers, they are ultimately, the UCF project managers, are ultimately responsible for the schedule in eBuilder. How many of you guys have ever worked with Microsoft Project or P6, right? Good. So that's similar. In eBuilder, we have something called the schedule module, and it works very similar to Microsoft Project. It's what the project managers use to basically follow along the task as the project progresses and mark them completed or not completed. So within that functionality of Microsoft Project, or even in eBuilder's, the schedule module, you can identify a specific person as a resource for that task. So if I'm going to name Rob to go and do some commissioning work, I can identify him in the schedule as a resource on that task, and as that date approaches, there's going to be an entry right here on his screen to pop up. That means I've indicated that he needs to perform some specific type of task. He's going to have the ability to click on it and update the percentage complete on it. So if one of the project managers identifies you as a resource on that task, and as that date approaches, you will have an entry right here to update. It depends on the project manager and how they want to manage the schedule. They may make you a resource, they may not make you a resource, and they may just manage the schedule on their own. Make sense?
That's just a notification of schedule item. And what's the action? Say they send that to you, they want you as a resource, but you're not available. So this obviously is not linked to the 5,000 people out there. So what happens then?
So that's a loaded question right there. So this is regarding the schedule module in the system, and of course, if they identify you as a resource on that task, when that date approaches, it'll pop up on your screen, and then of course, you as a user, if you did complete the task, you'll indicate it there within that section, completed, not completed, comment, whatever. As far as other users in the system, you only have your login into eBuilder. Those guys do not. If they need to have access into eBuilder for your company, you should contact the project manager. Project manager will contact the EB admins and determine if they really need to have an access or have access into eBuilder. eBuilder is not like where you can just give anyone access into the system. We record every single action there, so everyone must have a login. So if you are used as a resource here on this particular task, the work is only up for you. Only you can update that particular entry in there. What you do for that task outside of the system, that's something completely different. We can't control that. We can only control the data entry that goes in there. Make sense? So it's up to the project manager if they're going to assign actual resources on a specific task in the system. Maybe they don't. They're managing it directly on their own, and they contact you. Hey, we need you to do this. We're at this point in time. We need you to do this type of activity. Let me know when you're done. You let him know physically with a call or email that it's done. He goes into eBuilder and updates the task as 100% complete.
Okay.
All right? So, submittal items in your court. So, this is going to be where you're going to see submittal items. We're going to go through a practice run with that. Let me see. How am I going to do that? You guys will have to follow along on my screen. I can't really send you the registry for the submittal items. But anyway, submittal items, and you'll see on my screen when I go through the module itself how that looks and how that works within eBuilder. Items pending approval, you can ignore that. That's not really applicable to you. That's applicable to UCF. All right. So, any questions about what we are seeing right here on the home screen? Yes.
On the task, if the project manager assigns you a task, but you need information from that project manager in order to do that task, how do you communicate that back to the project?
Phone call or email, or you can put a comment on there. Again, if the project manager in our schedule module in eBuilder, if they identify you as a resource and that date approaches, it's going to pop up right here in your court, right? If they identify, some work for you to do in the system. There's a specific way for them to do that, for them to set that up.
The
So,
moment that they identify you as a resource for any particular task, does it send an email to that individual to say, hey, by the way, Jimmy wants you as a resource 2 months from now. So that way we can, instead of a week before the item, we can give them a heads up that, hey, I'm not available for that.
they can
Quite frankly, my schedule is booked up and I need to know those things.
They can do that.
From a communication breakdown, that's a big, big deal. All of a sudden, the week comes up, it finally pops up on our homepage, if you will.
So they can send that out. There's definitely ways to communicate that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
well, not only that, but, sometimes there's missing information, and all of a sudden, something shows up in there that says that you got a task to do, but you can't even begin your task because you don't have the information from UCF in order to do that.
Well, there's two components here. I can't control what a project manager enters in the system or not enters in the system. They have to do their job. They've already had their training, and there's a lot of emphasis on them, and especially in this system, a lot more transparency and visibility from everybody else if they are doing their job or not. So the component is if they're properly communicating to you guys that something needs to be done. So even before this, all costs and scheduling has to be identified ahead of time before the project even gets off the ground. So there's other processes in place that they are responsible for performing. They need to get that out. If they're not properly communicating, then that's a completely different issue that a system can't really control too much. But ultimately, you do have visibility into the overall schedule on that project. And of course, again, the system is dependent upon how they use it. If they do mark you or identify you as a task resource on that task in the system, it'll pop up on your screen. Or optionally, they can send out a notification for that particular task in your direction. Again, the tool is there, but how they use it is completely dependent for each project manager. They are encouraged to, but does that make sense? There's only so much we can do here. It's going to be the project manager, and their responsibility is to communicate that task to you. You guys should be having a meeting about the current schedule itself.
What we trained the project managers to do was if you needed to assign a resource to a task, that you take an option and that will send out a notification to you. So if that task is not for another 2 months or a month and a half, you'll still get that notification right away. As far as showing up in your court, that might be at a later time, but you will be notified as soon as they assign you as a resource on that task.
So for anyone else that has issues with communications with their project manager, communicate that ahead of time to them. Sounds like that's a major issue that I'm hearing, pain point, that they're not communicating the schedule, and all of a sudden you're getting handed some type of work to do, and you need to scramble to get it done, right? That sounds like what I'm hearing.
Yeah, well, what I'm concerned about is that the performance of the people that are in this room are based upon an interaction between the project manager. And if that project manager's boss is looking at this, and it comes up that we are not doing our job, then we can't do our jobs, then how does this system work? You see what I'm saying?
We'll see in the next hour or two the functionality of transparency in the system. And it's fully transparent when something goes in your court versus it goes into someone else's court and how long it sits there. But it's only as good as you using the system. Make sense? All right. So we'll see with processes and forms and ball and court mechanisms, and all the information is there to track it down. You definitely see that. Okay. Let's first start off with forms. So as I mentioned earlier, forms, they're pretty much something that you fill out and you route it around to somebody, right? By the way, can you guys check something for me? What I want you to do is to click on the Projects tab at the top. When you click on the Projects tab, you should see some type of project on your screen. It should say something to the effect of End User Training Project and a number, right? Who does not have that on their screen?
Mine's running slow, so it may have a
So just click on the Projects tab at the top. Then you should be on this screen here. Got it? Do you see our project, End User Training? Good. So everyone has a project. Now everything lives within a project. So if you wanted to use any of these modules, for the most part, you're using it within that project. So if I wanted to start a form, filling out a form, I have to be inside of that particular project, because that means that form is relating to that project. So the way we're navigating around in eBuilder, there's different ways to get to the information that we want to get to. So if you guys are still in the Projects tab, click on the name of your project. So, project details. This will provide information about that particular project. This is pretty standard information, nothing special here. We have the name of the project at the top, who the administrator is. The administrator is the person that actually created the account, created this project in eBuilder. You may see Matthew Green, you may see Cheryl Colvin, maybe even later on you may even see Trey Beck on there. So it really depends. Project status. The current status of this project is active. That's fine. Address, straightforward. There's a little link right next to the left of that address. If you click on it, it'll open up the actual Google, actually open up Google Maps, and you can get a map view of that location. You can click on that if you want. Give you Google Maps view. I'm going to close my window and go back into eBuilder. Country. All right, so we have start date and target date. Start date is the expected start date of the project. Target date is the expected target completion date of that project. It can change, so you might see it change throughout the life cycle of that project due to delays. Right? Straightforward information right here. Description. That's going to be the description of the work that's required of that particular project. Project webcam. Right now we have a survey link there, but I mean, if webcams are set up and there's a link there, you'll definitely see a link. You'll see the website there. The last person to modify it and the date that they modified it. Overall, the last person that modified this project will be the project manager, because again, they are managing the project. They're managing all of the information and communication in the system. They are the owners of that project. When we scroll further down, we have some additional information. Some will make sense to you, some will not. Some will be applicable to you, some will not. So PRP number, you can ignore that. This is the formal project ID. This is the project number. This is a work order number, a number referencing in another system. Major project type, the category, when it was received, priority. Straightforward information here. Name of the building, the number, rooms, who originally requested this project, who the client is, so on and so forth. Project manager. So you'll probably see some different name on yours. Now, it says project manager here, and maybe on your project it's somebody else different. If that is the case, that means somebody didn't set the system up correctly or didn't update this page appropriately. This is an information-only page. So maybe the actual project manager is Trey Beck, but when you come in here and you see Robert Sharps, and you've primarily been working with Trey on this, then let that project manager know they need to update this page. The information is incorrect. All right. Project photos. If there is a picture that was uploaded into the system, you'll see it here. I think on my other project, project 8, I've got a picture there as a sample. So it's up to the project manager. If they have some type of picture that they wanted to upload, they have the ability to do that. On your training project here, you may or may not have a picture there. All right. So now that we're inside of the project, and it says details for and the name of the project. That's a drop-down menu, so that means the more projects you work on, the more projects you'll see. So that means if you were working on 10 or 20 projects, you'll see them on this list. These are all training projects now, so you'll likely see only one project. But you can easily jump from one project to another project to look at the content or the information about that particular project. Now, since we're inside of the project for number 25, actually, let me jump back to number 8. Oops. So what I want you to pay particularly notice about, let me make one quick change here. Once you're inside of that project, then you can start to use the left-hand menu. So I'm inside of my project, and if I need to start a process or fill out a form, I'm going to start doing it inside of my project. Everything lives within that project silo. Does it make sense? You can't just say, I want to fill out a form. Well, what form do you want to fill it out? What form do you want to fill out? And for which particular project? You have to be inside of that project. Everything lives within that silo. So what I want you to do, on the left-hand side, click on the Forms button. So now I'm in the Forms module of my project. Forms 4, and the name of your training project should be listed right on that drop-down menu. You're inside of that project. You can fill out a form for this project, or for me, I can fill out a form for another project. I'm going to stick to my training project. All right, so what you're looking at in this screen, this is a search screen. It says search in forms initiated by me, forms in my court, and all forms. If I started a form, if I filled out a form for this project, I'll see results here. Again, this is a search screen right here. Anything initiated by me, the type of form. So we have a ton of forms in the system. Static forms and workflow forms. I'll identify what they are in a bit. But overall, when you first come in here, if you're searching for something, if you tell it to search for something and you meant something else, it's not going to find anything. You need to know what you're looking for, right? So if you started that form and you want to find where it's at right now, you can select the option of forms initiated by me. If you started a form but you don't know what you filled out or where it's at or what have you, all forms would be the option that you select. If it's in your court, well, guess where else you would normally see that? Or can somebody guess? Your homepage. Remember that homepage? Workflow in your court. You'll see the item there if it's in your court. It just so happens that there's an option here that says forms in my court. So for right now, what I want you to do is to select all forms. We're going to leave the type to be all workflow forms and static forms. We're going to search for anything. And then on the right-hand side, we have 3 items there. Draft, open, and close. Draft means you started that form, you saved it, it's in a draft state. Open means you filled out that form, you sent it in, and it's still open. Closed is closed. You marked it as closed, or someone marked it as closed. Click filter on the right-hand side. Did you guys get anything on your projects? Nope. Guess we didn't fill out any forms in the last session. All right. So that's how you search for the forms, but how do you fill out one? On the right-hand side, click on Fill Out Form. I'm going to maximize my screen. So we have two different types of forms, static and workflow. I'll go through static first. So I went in. Do you guys have this list on your screen as well? Good. Sorry? No? Yes? No? So what I did was I went into, I'm in my search screen here, clicked on Fill Out Form. Now I have this list on my screen. These are the different types of forms in the system. I'm going to maximize it right now. At the very top, it says fill out form on and the name of my project, End User Training Project 01. When I look further down, we have workflow forms and we have static forms. I'll start off with static. We have two types of forms, static and workflow. Static is basically, it doesn't go anywhere. You fill out the information, you submit it, that's it. It's in the system. It doesn't route to anyone. No one sees it. People can search for it, but it's just for record-keeping purposes. A journal, maybe, communication task or communication log. If you look at this list, these are the different types of forms that we have. Accident report, the HR form, communication, risk. Let's go ahead and take a look at lessons learned. So go ahead and click on the communications lesson learned form. Once we start to fill out this form, remember I said everything needs to be in a project? You have to go to that project first before you can do anything. Well, this is one of the reasons why. When you start to fill out that form, it automatically knows that you're inside of that project. So it pulls in that information. Form type, lessons learned, that's the one that we selected. Name of the author, so it should grab your name automatically. It knows that you logged in. Counter prefix, you can, for the most part, ignore that. If you have a special number that you want as a prefix, you can set it right there. I don't really know if any good use case for that, but that's a functionality that someone requested. They added it, and it's there. But it's another method of record keeping. Priority, click on that drop down. You have high, normal, low. Depending on the form and the scenario, you're going to indicate on this form if it's high, normal, or low. Subject line, so this is a lesson learned. So for this particular form, just fill it out. What kind of lesson are we learning here? Subject line, mine, I'm going to name it Training Session Was Intense. Then we have a section for CCing. So static forms, they don't get routed anywhere. They don't go to anyone. But you can CC somebody or a group. You can carbon copy. They're just going to get an email notification that you submitted this form. They'll see the contents of it, and that's it. It's just an additional email notification like an FYI. So at the very top, we have a ton of roles here. That probably doesn't make sense to you. So more than likely, if you want to CC somebody on this form, scroll down all the way to the bottom, and you'll see some names there. Those names that you would normally see there are the participants on that project. The system is permission-based. We only give access to people that really need to be on that particular project. So any participant that's on this project, their name would be listed here. In real projects, you'll see a larger list there, 10 to 20 names there. And you can CC anyone on this form. For now, go ahead and select, well, I'm gonna, since Joe, we're on the same project. Where's Joe? I'm gonna CC you and you'll get an email notification as an example. You can go ahead and CC me on yours if you want. So for this particular form, let's scroll down a little bit further. It's a lesson learned. So we have 3 fields here: CSI division, description of issue, and lesson learned. So anything with the red asterisk is a required field. You're not going to be able to post it, submit it, what have you, move forward until that data is entered in there. So it says CSI division. You're going to select the division that's applicable. Description of the issue, enter in some message. Lesson learned. This is a very basic form. Every form is going to be different. Every form is going to have different questions, different types of fields, like a checkbox, text box, drop-down menu. It depends on the form. So once you fill out that form, at the very top, we have about 5 options there. Print, check spelling, post form, save draft, and cancel. Print will essentially print off this screen, but not the content of it. Really, the print is functional after you post that form. Check spelling, straightforward. Check your spelling. Post form, so after you filled out all of the information here, you want to post it. Don't do it just yet, but that's the button that you would click on. Save a draft. So if you have a huge form that you're filling out, you don't have time to finish it, save it. You can return to it at a later point in time, and then continue where you left off, as long as you save it. Cancel is cancel. That means you want to get out. So what I want you to do is to click on Save Draft. Just go ahead and save it. After you save it, you should get that green confirmation box at the top. Draft saved successfully.
The little box where it says request external content after posting.
What is that?
That gives you permission to reply to it or something?
No. So that's a special functionality. That's within forms and processes. Now, if you don't see the name of the person on that list, on that CC list, this is a special functionality where it can essentially send an email to that recipient outside of eBuilder, and it's giving them a copy of this communication form. And it'll say, Bobby is requesting your comment on this particular form. They have the ability to actually reply to that form, and it's captured in here, all without them having to have access directly into eBuilder. Request external comment. I'm requesting a comment from somebody outside of the system. You can send it to somebody inside the system as well too, but that's a good use for somebody that doesn't have access into eBuilder, and you need them to look at that form. Make sense? All right, we saved a draft. Let's cancel out the window. So either click on cancel or close out the window. Now we see this thing right here. It's brown, it's italicized. That means it's in a draft state. What I want you to do is to click on the fill out selected form type one more time. You can either do fill out form or fill out the selected form type. The reason why that button all of a sudden appeared is because we filled out that form once. The search screen detected that we filled out that form, so it added a button now saying, hey, maybe you want to fill out that form again. Here's a convenient button. So you don't have to go and search down that list that we saw previously. So we're going to fill out the exact same form. I'm going to click on that button, fill out selected form type. Subject line, this is an open form. I'm just gonna select divisional weight openings. Description of the issue. This is an open form from my training. Lessons learned. I am learning about static forms. Open, closed, and draft. All right, for this particular form, we're actually gonna post it. So once you've entered in all of the required fields, click on Post Form at the top right. When you click on Post Form, that window disappears. Where'd it go? It's posted to the system now. So what I want you to do is to click the Filter button on the right-hand side to refresh this screen. So after you click on that filter screen, it refreshes the screen. It refreshes the search. We told it to search for all forms, specifically this form right here, type of form, the communication form for lessons learned. And we're telling it to look for anything in an open, draft, or closed state. And here are our results. Open, it's blue. Draft, it's brown and italicized. What does a closed form look like? Let's do the same thing. Follow the same steps again. This time, we're gonna post it, but then we have to go back into it and actually close it. Fill out the form and post it. Okay, are you guys with me still so far? So when you start a new form, it's always going to be in an open state. I'm going to close it. I'm going to close it. Nope, no. You can't just start a form and close it right in a single shot. So, all right. So I created the form. I have my 3 forms here: 2 open, 1 in the draft state. This one, I'm going to close it. So once you submit that form, when it's time to close it, you go back into that form. This time, we have a save and close button here. Save basically means I'm going to add some additional information somewhere, and I want to save it so it doesn't get lost. Right? That's for saving. You can add more content to that form. Now, closing it. Here's that close button. Now, why would we want to close a form? It's just another status on forms to indicate what's open, what's closed. Depends on how you want to use it, how you want to track information. But in general, if you open up a form or start a form, if you're done with that form, the issue is resolved, close it. So click on that close button on that form, the third one that you opened up, or started, I should say. The very next screen, it's going to prompt you for a comment. That interesting? So when you close a form, best practice, always add an and a closing remark or a closing comment about why you're closing the form. Depending on the form, you know, if I requested something from you and you replied to me and I just close out the form without adding this ending remark, when someone else looks at it, they might say, wait a minute, I don't understand. You know, I asked you for something, you replied, but me as a third-party viewer might think the information wasn't sufficient. Why is this form closed? The issue is not resolved. So, as a best practice, when you close a form, specifically with forms, you want to always enter in a closing remark. You know, issue resolved, answer received, request fulfilled, closing form. So that if someone else looks at that form and they do have access to it, they'll see why it was closed. They can understand why you closed it. You got all the information you needed, you're going to close it. So for right now, I'll just say receive training. Closing form. Then the only thing I need to do is, guess what? Click on the close button. All right. So here we are. Something's in a draft state. Something's in an open state. Something's in a closed state. Communication form. Here's the name of that form, the subject line, the person and company that filled it out. Any questions on forms, on this static form? Nope. All right. I'm going to go back into my open form. Now, in a form, go ahead and return to that one form that you opened up. In forms, if you scroll down just a bit, you'll see lessons, comment, attach files, attach forms, attach to. Comment. Comments are a unique functionality in the system. It's separate from these pieces of information on the front of the form that you normally fill out. You can add little tidbits of communications or comments or what have you about this form. Go ahead and click on comment, or click on the comments tab. So once you click on that, down below you'll have the comment button, fax comment, and request external comment. So comment, guess what? We're going to add a comment on there. This is a comment to this form. And of course, you have the option to CC another person on there, so that person will get that email notification with your remarks. I'm going to add my comment. Done. I added my 2 cents to this form. Here it is. This person added this comment on this date at this time. Here's that message. Remember that question Bobby asked earlier about what's that request external comment after posting? Well, we also have that functionality after you post the form. It's called request external comment. Click on that. When you click on that button, did you guys all get that pop-up menu? Sometimes these computers block pop-up. Did you guys get that? So you can either email or fax somebody outside of the system. I hope you guys have your portable fax machines on you. We're going to send you a fax. Okay, bad joke. Select email, then click next. Type in your email address. Type in your email address. Now, if you have access to your email, that's great. If not, you'll have to look on my screen or look at somebody's computer right next to you. All right. Type in that person's email address, or really type in your email address so you can get an email. Here's the name of that subject line. It's a pretty lengthy subject line, so I would shorten that. Request ext comment from training. Respond by. You could set a respond by date, completely optional. Anything with that red asterisk is a required field. Upload attachments to folders. You can ignore that because you're not allowed to let people attach documents here. That function should be disabled, even though the option is there. Message. Please take a look at this. Lessons learned from training. And provide your thoughts. You can type in whatever message you want. Whatever is applicable to that form and to the person that you're reaching out to. After you've typed in your message, click on email request. So the recipient, or the person, not the recipient, yeah, the recipient of that request external comment will get that email, which is you for today. You'll have a link to click on. It'll take you into a portal, and you can see all of the information here. And you can also respond through that portal. Your communication is also captured right here. All right, attach files. If you wanted to attach a file to this particular form, you can drag and drop it into this computer, into this screen right here. All you do is drag and drop. So for those of you on the Macs, I'm pretty sure you're going to have a tough time finding some files on there, but just know that you can just drag and drop a file in there and it'll be saved into this form. Okay, any questions about forms? This is a static form. We're going to click close. So go back to your lessons tab. Everything look okay on there. Click close. And we're going to close this form with a comment. Add your closing remarks, then click close. Okay so far? You guys with me? I'm still on the same screen. On this draft that I started, I'm going to delete it. I'm going to go into that draft, delete draft. Yes, I want to delete this draft. Any questions about the static form? Opening one, closing one, saving it as draft, request external comment, uploading documents. Straightforward, right?
Can you delete those old closed forms?
No.
They're always up there?
They're always in there. Always in there. All right, we're going to fill out another form, the workflow form. On the right-hand side, click on Fill Out Form. Let me see. What's a good one here? Let me take a look. Before you click on anything, let me take a look at the vacation request. Oh, that's a nice one. All right. So once you have your list of forms on your screen, under Workflow Form, select HR Vacation Request. I'm just surprised they actually had that form in there. Simple enough to fill out. Every form is going to be unique. They're going to have their own questions and fields in there. Okay. The name of our project is here. The type of form. Person filling it out. Priority. I'm going to change mine to high. Subject line. Edward needs a vacation. Well, put your name in place. Send to. Now, this right here, the select from, it says all roles. That's basically a filter for that other drop-down menu. For this drop-down menu right here where it says select recipients, this drop-down menu right here is basically a filter for that. So if I were to have, say, a ton of names in here and I wanted to only look at somebody who's in CX support, if there was a huge list, I would be able to filter off of that list. Right now, these are training projects. We don't have that many people on there, so leave it on all roles. Leave it on all roles. And under select recipient, select my name. Do you guys see my name on your project? EEPM. Go ahead and select that person. So I'm going to get blasted with emails right now. And a due date. Due date will be today. We need to know if you can go on vacation today. CC, straightforward. You can CC a group or a group of roles. Or sorry, not a group of roles, but you can CC the role. So anyone in that role on this project will get that email. Or if you scroll down all the way to the bottom, remember what I said? All of the participants on the project will be listed here. That's going to be a list of 10 to 20 potential users on this project. Request external comment after posting. We're not going to use that. Vacation request, attach files, attach forms. All right, so under vacation request, start date. We're going to start this Saturday, the 24th. End date, the 10th, whatever date you want. Number of vacation days used. Looks like 10 days. Additional comments, that's an optional field. There are no red asterisks next to it. You're just going to fill it out if you need to. Status. Well, you're not going to indicate status. So when we look at this form, it says, right here, please enter your vacation days below. Please include the number of days being used. That's for you to fill out. Management, approval, rejection, selection. Please update to the proper status. So that's not something that you would normally fill out. You could, but the person receiving this form, they're probably going to change it. So anyway, we filled out this form. Again, every form will be different. There is an attached files tab at the top of that section. You can attach a document, attach a file, attach a picture of you on the beach, what have you. Attach forms. So this option right here means you can link this form to another form. So perhaps you filled out a form previously. You can link it to this form as well. It's just a point of reference. So we filled out our form. Let's go ahead and post it. What's going to happen is I'm going to get a ton of email since everyone's sending it to me. And on my home screen, I'm going to get a bunch of items in my cart. Let me show you what that looks like. Here it is. This is my other user. This is what it looks like in my court. Everyone's requesting something. The ball is in my court right now. So you guys took that ball, dropped it in my court. Now it's time for me to respond. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to reply to each and every one of you, hopefully as soon as possible. You'll see my response. Basically, when the ball goes in your court, from my response, you're going to do the exact same thing. So let me reply to all of your forms. This is how you reply to it. It's going to be on your screen. Click on the name of that form. It opens up on the screen. You would review the information, and depending on the form type, you'll have different fields and places to reply. Pretty straightforward, right? Ball's in your court. You review the information. Someone's request on this particular form. Again, every form's going to be different. Look at the information. The receiver of this will determine what the response is. Type of response, only 5 days, and send. Thanks for filling this out for me, Bobby. Yeah, it depends on the form. Sometimes it's not applicable to fill out other sections of it. Okay. Oh, almost done. All right, now if you guys would, click that little house in the top left-hand corner. Click the house in the top left-hand corner and you should see an item back in your court. Yes, if you click that little house, top left-hand corner, takes you back to the home page. And now under workflow in your court, you should have that form, right? Who does not have that? Your name? Click it one more time. I think yours might have been the last one I replied to. Is it there? What project are you on?
11.
Number 11. It's in your court.
I had to click on the forms to have them in the workflow. Well,
I'm sorry?
like when mine wasn't up there either, but then when I clicked on the
This right here?
yeah, then it popped up.
So you guys clicked on this little house, which should take you back to the home page and refresh this entire screen. It would normally be there, and you'll see that item right here. The alternative way to find a form also, as you can see on my screen, I have like a bunch of forms here, and I'm only showing the first 10. I actually have a lot more work in my court right now, but I'm only showing, right now I'm showing like the first 50, but if I only do first 10, it's not going to be right here in this box. So what optionally I can do is click on that forms link like you mentioned, which then takes me into the forms module. Still thinking. So now I'm inside of the forms module, and I can see all of the forms across all projects. Another way to navigate around is just to click on the forms tab at the top. So once you're in the forms module, if you click on your project, it'll take you into the forms module under your project. So right now I'm in project 08. And I should be at the search screen. So can somebody answer why I don't have anything on my search screen right now?
You only have open.
Yep, I only have open clicked. Let's search for something. If I click filter, open, let's see what's closed on this project. I have all these items that are closed. So I didn't have any open forms in here. So anyway, back on your form, if you click on the name of that form, it opens it up on your screen. If you did not click on the name of that form, and you clicked on the name of the project, it takes you into your project, says at the very top, and user training for project whatever, and you're inside of your project right now, and now you're in the search screen of forms where you can search for the form. In either case, if you clicked on the name of that form, it will be right up on your screen, right? You guys have that? And now you have save, forward, reply, and close. Yes? Save, you can add additional content to it, save it, forward it. You can forward the form to somebody else. So if somebody else needs to review it, you can forward it to that person. Forms can only be sent to one person at a time. The ball and court method. It can only go into one person's court. So that's why if I filled out that form, I put it in your court, you reply to me. Now I need to get Rob to weigh in on this. I can forward it to him. The ball's going to go into his court. That's what that functionality does. Forward. Let's click on forward and see what options are there. I can forward to another person, maybe Matthew, since he's on this project. And I can still CC other people when I forward it on. Add my comment and send. That's if I'm forwarding it. I'm going to click cancel. Depending on the form, I'm going to always re-emphasize, depending on the form, if it's not filled out properly or the person didn't respond correctly, you're going to use reply, put it back into the court. Otherwise, if you have the answer that you need, close the form. Add your comments. I got my answer. Closing form. Since you guys filled out an HR vacation request form, some were rejected, some were approved, you can re-request it, or you can close it out if they were approved. If it's pending, well, you just have to wait. Any questions on forms? There are a bunch of forms in here that is available for you to use. Depending on your scenario, if you typically use a form or have to fill out a form from UCF that is not in here, check with the EB admins. Contact them and say, hey, I usually fill out this form for this particular scenario. We needed to have it in eBuilder, and they can create that for you. All right. All right. So it's about 9:55. Let's go ahead and take a 10-minute break. 9:55. We'll start back up at 10:05, and we'll start working with processes. Just blowing up my phone.
Yeah, just want to make sure that was set up.
Yeah.
I was so burned out yesterday. I had to deposit your note on it. I've not done it at all. I was so burned out. I think it was too long. I didn't even know if leave the office. I didn't leave this. Yeah, that happens. So there was no, there was no. Two different departments.
All right, so let's go ahead and get started with another 2 hours, and then we're done. Oh, those faces just lit up right now. All right, processes. So pretty much processes are very much structured. They're very similar to forms. The only difference is there's a lot more functionality, there's a lot more questions, and it's routed in a very specific manner, depending on that process. So what I want you guys to do is go back into your project. So I'm gonna click on projects on the top, the tab, select the name of my project, my training project, end user training project. That takes me into the project, specifically the project details. Now on the left hand side, I'm going to start using these buttons here, project menu. On the left hand side, click on processes. We have a very similar process search screen. Down below, we have these headings. So if we search for a particular process, we'll get these pieces of information. We can identify where the process is, whose court it's in, who started it, so on and so forth. I'm going to change my filter, processes, all processes. Type of process, all process, in any state, draft, open, or finish. Let's see what results come in. In mine, yours will probably vary depending on the project. In mine, I have one result. Does anyone else have anything come up on theirs? Yes? It can either be blue, which means it's in what state? Open state, or it's grayed out, meaning it's been approved or closed. Now, with processes, you have different statuses. Forms, it's in an open state, closed state, or a draft state. Processes are different. You have additional statuses: approved, submitted, pending, void, rejected. It depends on the actual process itself. Change order. It's not going to say open or closed. It's going to say approved or rejected. Or it's pending, meaning it's being routed around for approvals. Your invoice approval or your pay app, same thing. Submitted, pending, approved, hopefully not rejected. All right, so in this search screen, for me, this is a bidding process because I know the abbreviation BIDVS, the name of the subject on that particular process, whose step it's in, the responsible person, is a ghost right now, how long it's been in this step, when it started, when it was created, or sorry, it's been in this step since the 21st, when that process was started, the total age, current status. Let me check. There's that question, how do we track things down? This is one method of identifying or having transparency where things are being held up, whose court it's in, how long it's been there, what step it's in. How many of you guys don't have anything listed on your screen right now? All right, just follow along. You'll eventually start working in a process. I just want you to see something. Those of you that do have something there, click on the actual name of that subject line. That takes you into that process. I just want to show you the basics at the top. This is with every project. I'm sorry, every process in the system. So you have the name of that process, vendor selection, bid review. You have the name of the project at the top, straightforward. The document, this is just a counter of how many times it's been used. This is the first time this process has ever been used in this project. Show history, so now we have additional layers of auditing. We can see how it's being routed around, whose court it's in, what action they took, the date and timestamp. We record all of the key pieces of data that the person entered in on that screen. That's what this section is down below. You guys likely will not, pay too much attention to this part right here. But we collect pretty much every single piece of data that is entered in there. We record every single bit. This is how it routed. What will help you more importantly will be this right here. Next to the current workflow step, you'll have something that says some type of description. It really depends on where it is in the process. But you'll see show workflow diagram. That's the more important part right there. You guys see that on your screen that have it? When you click on this, this is the diagram of how that process routes data. It started by somebody, maybe a PM, maybe a GC, maybe the AE. It all depends on the project. And it all depends on the process. It started. Then it goes to the AD review. So it goes to the associate director. They review that information. They take some type of action. They take a approve, reviewed action, one of those. It really depends on process. Or they take a revise action, and it goes back down here. If they click reviewed, it goes to the GC quotes manager. On this particular process, it goes to the GC quotes manager. If not, it goes back to the initiator. If you are the initiator, it's going to go back into your court. You have the option, generally initiators have the option to void it out, and it goes straight to finish. We'll see that. Or you make your corrections on that screen, and you resubmit it into the next person to review it. It goes back up to the associate director. The associate director reviews that information, sends it over to the GC quotes manager. GC quotes manager reviews it again. If they like what they see, they send it over to their PM. If they have an issue, they can send it back to the initiator. But if it looks good, it goes to the PM. PM reviews that. Then they send it back to provide their feedback, send it back to the GC quotes manager, so on and so forth. So does it make sense in how it's flowing? We're going to follow the arrows. It's submitted. The arrow points to the box. It goes to the box. They click reviewed. It goes to this guy here, the person in this role, the GC quotes manager. They click review. It goes to that person. Pretty straightforward. Just follow the arrows, right? Anytime you see an arrow going back, that means it's on a revise action. So this is just an example of one process. Now, for this particular process, the initiator has the option to void out the process. So that's why we have this little void arrow going all the way to finish. So at any time, if the person doesn't want to move forward with that particular process, and it goes back to this person's court. Only they can do it. They have the option to void it out, and it goes all the way down to finish. Otherwise, if everyone's fine with the information, it's all correct. You know, everything's in construction is always correct the first time, right? It moves all the way down, and then eventually it hits finish as well too, probably with an approved status. So this is an example of being able to identify where it is in the process. This person right here, it's the holdup. That highlighted box or bolded box right here, that's where the holdup is right now. It says GCQM review results. GCQM review results. That's the step that it's in. It's right here in this process, so we are about, looks like, just over 1/3 of the way there. A few more steps to go. Every process is going to be different now. This is just for one process that you guys don't partake in. This is something internal. Current actor. If the system was configured properly, you will see a name there. If it was configured properly. These are all training projects, so likely there isn't a name there, but we will see one soon when we do go through the example. But current actor, that's the name of that person. That's whose court it's in. We have a name. We know where it's stuck at now. Down below is the basic information about that particular process that someone fills out. So that's the basic premise of a process. Go ahead and close that window out. What I want you to do is go back into the search screen. In the top right-hand corner, click on Start Process. So everyone, go ahead and click on Start Process. Depending on your roles, so AEs have different processes that they can start. GCs, you guys and girls, you guys have different processes that you can start depending on your role. So I am logged in as a contractor right now. I have access to start a potential change order, which, depending on the approvals, can kick off a formal change order. I also have my pay app process. Consultants and AEs, you guys can do this as well. This is the invoice approval process. I have substantial completion, final completion, and this one should not be, well, I have a permit tracker, but I need to make a change to the system here. But for the most part, for contractors, you guys only have about 4 processes that you can start. AEs, you guys probably have, what, 3, I think it is? 2? Yep. Drawing and design review, and the payment, the invoice approval, consultant invoice. Depending on your role, you can start different processes. So, for contractors in here, this is going to be for you. You AE guys, you guys can fall asleep for about 2 minutes. All right, contractors, click on that PCO link. Potential change order. So, once a commitment's been created in the system, you start working, you see some issue, you're going to want to come into eBuilder. You're mostly going to be taking a lot of guidance from your project manager on how, when to do certain processes or when to use certain forms, but this is the formal PCO process. Go into your project, go into processes, start that process, like how we just got to this screen here. Subject line, you're going to give it a subject line, whatever the issue is. So give it a subject line of something that recently happened. Oh, shoot. You know what? I just realized something. We can go through the motions of it, but you'll have to follow along because I don't have specific commitments for every single one of your companies out there. So let's go ahead and go through the motions, but you'll have to follow along when I start making changes into my actual commitment in the system. All right, so insert a subject line. Once you enter in that subject line, when you scroll further down, you are required to upload 4 attachments. The material and labor cost proposal, updated budget reconciliation, CCD, RFI, ASI, SK plans, and the updated project schedule. You are required, these are required fields. You need to upload those documents here. After you make your upload, depending on those of you on your laptops, you can probably upload some random file on there. The ones on the Mac, if you can find some type of file on that computer to upload, just follow through the motions of it. Drag and drop that file into those boxes. So you're going to look for something on your computer, drag it and drop it right into that box. When you upload a file, you'll get this window that pops up. When that turns green, that means your file is ready to be processed. All you need to do is click upload. Then that file is in the system. I'll do that again. Find the file that you need to upload, drag it off of your computer and into that box. This window opens up. It turned green, that means it's ready to be processed. Click upload. It finalizes that process, the processing I should say, and the file is in there right now. Do the same thing for the other 2 file fields. Upload, done. So I have my 4 required fields uploaded. Then as you scroll further down, these are all fields that are optional to fill out. So this one's been left blank intentionally. You can't do anything there. Schedule, impact, and days. You're going to update that. If this is E&O, explain why this change order request is not part of the original contract, the justification, the effects on the project. You're going to enter that in there, and again, I'll restate it. It's an optional field because there isn't a asterisk right next to it. So it's completely optional. I would suggest you do fill out as much information as possible so it doesn't get kicked back. Then we have special instructions on how to change your commitment, how to change your SOV. Your SOV is, for this potential change order, you're going to identify where you're going to need to make the changes on the SOV. So here are the instructions, but I'm just going to go through the motions. Now on your computers, for you GCs in there, I don't have commitments for you in the system, so you'll just have to follow along what I have on the screen. But the instructions are, again, right here, very clear. You're going to click on the drop down and select your actual commitment. I'm in project 08. Let me just double check something here. Ooh. Let me find a commitment in the system. Let me take a look. Okay, so again, in returning back to updating the commitment, I have the instructions at the top. Under commitment change details, you're going to click on the drop down, and that drop down will list out all the contracts associated to this project. You select the one that's applicable for that potential change order that you're starting. So I'm going to select this contract right here. It pulls in the information on the screen. Date of change. Now you have to indicate the reason code why this PCO is being submitted. Added scope, buyout allocation, design change, DOP, error and omission, field condition, or owner directive. Select the appropriate reason code. Then, down below, what you're going to do is click on Add All Existing Items. That means we're going to pull in our current commitments. On this particular contract, I only have 2 line items. This may not be applicable to you guys, to you GCs out there. Again, these are just fake training data. But if you're changing an existing item on your SOV, you pull it in here, and on the right-hand side, you have a place to enter in the change amount. So for the first line item, the current commitment amount is in the amount of $250,000 for that specific line item. If I'm making a change to the existing one, I'm going to add an additional $50,000 there. That's where I am suggesting that change needs to go. $50,000 there, and $100,000 for the second line item. This is about a $150,000 change order. Potential change order, let's say. Potential change order. Has to get approved first. That's all you do. You enter that information there, you attach your files, and then you scroll down and you continue to fill out the information. If there is an AE job number, you would enter it in here. If applicable, again, it's not a required field, but if applicable, you enter it in there. The federal project number, if you're doing any federal project numbers or federal projects. Then we get into a system, a section here, description of change, increase, or decrease. So, how many of you guys have filled out that change order request form before with UCF? So it looks very similar to that. The questions that you're seeing here, further down below, it's very similar to that form, right? As far as description of the change, increase, or decrease. Description of the change. So you're going to enter in the description. Oof. And of course, if it's a decrease, you're not really going to do anything there. So you're going to enter in $0. If it's an increase, you're going to enter in the actual dollar amount. Then as we go further down, we have additional fields that we need to fill in. NTP date, original contract sum, present contract days, this change in days, the new contract date and time. So these are the same questions that are asked on that form. You're going to fill it out.
Why is this manually being put in when you've already changed your statement of values to come up with whether it was an add or deduct of $150,000?
Because
then you're putting the data in twice.
Yeah, it's one is a data entry screen, the other one is directly tied into cost module. So in other words, when it finally gets approved, it automatically increases the contract cost or decreases depending on what the request is.
Still the one form, or the one process technically.
It is one process, yes. It's just one place is for data entry, the other one's for actual updating the contract. At the same time, there's a mail merge that actually is produced later on down when we get into the change order process. So it needs to pull in that data in that method. Yep. Product ideas, thumbs down. So you're going to enter in all this information. And of course, there's the contractor certification. Required field, you have to click that yes. And then click that submit button. That starts off that process. Make sense? So for this specific process, let me show you the workflow. This is you right here for the contractors. You're starting this process off. After this, it goes to the AE. Whoever the AE is on this project, they review that information. They essentially see the same information that you filled out previously. On that screen, they're going to see the exact same thing. All the information. If they have any issues with this, they're going to kick it back to you. You can make your corrections, and you can resubmit it to the AE on the project. If not, you have the option to void it out, and it goes all the way straight to finish on the right-hand side. Boom. I'm guessing you're going to want to make your correction, move forward with it. After the AE reviews it, they send it off to the project manager. PM reviews it, confirms. Well, there will likely be some communication going between you. Then they need to check with accounting. They optionally have to check with accounting to see if there are sufficient funds to move forward with this request. After accounting validates that there is sufficient funds, then it goes back to the project manager. They will then send it over to the associate director. Associate director will review that information, and if it checks out correctly, they will send it over to the director. At any point in time, the director can send it back to the PM. That's why we have that line going back to the PM. The associate director can send it back to the PM. The PM can send it back to the AE or directly to you. You will get that email notification. You're going to get the ball in your court. You'll have a place to look at the comments and follow through on the comments, read all the comments and why they're questioning your change order request. But if there are no questions asked, you provided sufficient information there in your attachments and details. It goes up to the director. The director really does have that final say if they will move forward to be a formal change order. If they do that, if it is a yes, it kicks off another process. It automatically kicks off another process. If not, then it's pretty much done. Close out. But if it does kick off that change order process, it'll go through here, and it sits in this step right here. So this is something that you pretty much, for the most part, don't have to worry about, concern yourself about this right here. And I say for the most part, because once we look at the actual change order process, something else could happen. So let me bring up that particular process. By the way, you see how I am searching for processes in the system? So as processes are used, they start to populate on this list here, and you can search for any process. Again, like we showed you before, you can search for any process and go back into it to see how it routed, what's going on. All right. So for the change order process, remember, if the director approves of that request or the potential change order, it kicks off another process. You don't have access to kick it off on your own. This is something that is done automatically. Once it kicks it off automatically, it lands right here in this process. So it just goes from start right into your court right here in the change order process. Actually, let me look at another process here. That's an old one. The workflow actually changed. Here it is. Here's the updated version of it. All right. So if the PCO gets approved by the director, then they're the final say if this is going to move over to be a change order, a formal change order. It's going to land in your court. And the information from the previous process gets pulled in, like your AE job number, federal project number. If an architect or engineer is on there, it'll pull that in. Your name will appear here. And all of this information that you filled out previously and any attachments, it comes along as well too. From one process to another, that information gets pulled in. The attachments get pulled in. And remember this information that you filled in previously? Remember that? The question about, the information is there. Well, it's now at this point where you're going to need to review it to make sure it's still applicable for this change order. So as I understand, due to how long certain things take, days will change. The time frame will change. The cost may change a little. You're essentially going to revalidate that the information is still correct. If not, you have the ability to update it. Like any process, you click submit. It goes to the very next person to review. Now, it was in your court right here. It's going to go back into your court now to take a specific action, to sign it. So what was done previously where you actually physically had to sign that document, we're doing electronic approvals in the system. Electronic approval / electronic signatures. You're going to get the ball back into your court again. You can email to let you know. You go back in, review it, just make sure it's all there, and then you just click that button and enter in your password. That right there, that action is recording that you are accepting, and you're validating that the information is correct. You're going to move forward with this change order. Make sense? Yes? Once you sign it, essentially, electronically, it goes to the AE on the project. They do the same thing. They see that exact same information, sign it. Then it goes to the project manager. They sign it. Then it goes to the AVP, the associate vice president. Vice president. After they sign it, for the most part, it's done. By the way, that little one caveat I mentioned, when it sits in that hold bucket, if the AVP signs it, it moves forward. But the AVP, she has the ability to reject that change order. If she rejects it, it's going to land in your court. It goes back into your court. You're going to see the reason why. Either you need to make corrections to it, or if she says, no, I'm not moving forward, void it out. We have this CO reject option. And it goes straight to finish. It's dead. But if Lee decides to approve of it, she signs it, the system will do something what's called a mail merge. It'll produce like a document out of it, which then goes to the accounting supervisor. They need to file that away in PeopleSoft. And then that's it. It's an approved change order. When it becomes an approved change order, your new commitment or your commitment in the system will now reflect the updates. Whatever, if you added scope, you increase the cost for a particular line item, or you decreased it, probably not, but whatever changes, it takes effect at that point. At this point right here. Make sense so far? Any questions on that PCO to CO process? You don't have to worry about this part right here because this is actions in the background. It actually closes out that other process, the PCO process. For the pay app, process, the processes are started all the same. Go into your project, click on Start Process, Contractor Pay App, and again, you have some fields that you are required to fill in and attach. Let's go ahead and start that one off. So on your computers, if you still have that PCO window open, you can close it out. And if you're in that process search screen, just click on Start Process. And everyone can actually start this process off. 08 Contractor Pay App and Consultant Invoice. You can start it. You'll just have to follow along because you guys don't have actual commitments in the system. All right. So for this particular process, anything with a red asterisk is a required field. Your reimbursables and your subconsultant billing. You have to upload those documents in there. So I'm going to drag and drop some file off of my computer into those fields. You can do the same thing off of yours. Let's see, let me try that again. All right, so my two files are there. And then for the contractor, is this final completion? You're going to indicate if this is a final completion or not. You can probably ignore that last option there. We're going to change the verbiage there. But essentially, you're going to indicate if this is a final completion or not, yes or no. And then for the commitment, there's not too much more to really fill out on this screen. It's just selecting your commitment and uploading those two docs. So if you could follow along on my screen, so I'm going to select my contract. Enter in my invoice number. And as soon as I select my contract, my SOV actually appears on the bottom. For this particular contract, this training data, there's only one line item in here. Let me change to another contract that might have additional line items, because you likely will have multiple line items within your commitment. I believe I'm having some internet access issue here. Quite delayed. Okay. So for this particular commitment, after you select your commitment here, you're going to enter in the invoice number. The receive date will automatically default to be today's date. And down below, here's your SOV. Essentially what you're going to do, and this one is a construction contract, what you're essentially going to do under this period is enter in the dollar value that you're invoicing against. So my scheduled value is for 200. My previous application is for 200, so I can't really invoice against that. But for line item like number 4, about $400 here, I can invoice for the 400 there. 500 for the next. 600 for the next, and so on and so forth. Now there was a question that was asked previously in another session about being able to import that into the system. So there's this little link right here that says download the schedule of values, the worksheet. You're going to download that to your computer, save it wherever, and once you open it up, then essentially you can start populating what you're invoicing against on your SOV here. 800, 900, 1,000. So once you populate that and save it, that's what this button here is for. Import invoice item. Click on that button, find your file, select that file, and attach it. And it appears all on the screen. The same method of entering it manually. So for this particular process, that's pretty much it. There's not much more to it. You attach your documents, indicate if this is the final completion or not, select your commitment, enter in your invoice number, and enter in what you're invoicing against. If you have other documents that you need to attach, there's the Attach Documents tab there. All on one screen. Just follow along. You should be fine. Once all that information is submitted, click Submit. Now I'm going to show you how that workflow looks.
Yeah. What if you, what if you don't have any sub-consultant billing, but it's a required field? You just put a picture in there?
Yeah, the system's not going to be able to distinguish what you upload in there. So this was requested by UCF to make that a required field. Probably check with the project manager. Cheryl, that might be a question to check with the group about that on those required fields. Sub-consultant billing. So one of you guys can make it as an optional field.
That would even, to me, that's AE side right there, reimbursable sub-consultant. For me, that's the bottom half of the schedule.
Your SOV. That's what you really care about. Yeah. So.
Possibilities you could attach a note of planning situation, but I guess wait for the definitive answer from UCF.
Yep. All right. Yeah, I think my internet is really slow right now. Let me see if I can pull up the workflow itself. Oh, there you go. Here's the workflow. So here's the workflow for that process. It started right here. And if it is a pay app, it goes to the architect, the AE on that project to review. After they review it, they will send it to the project manager. If this is a consulted invoice, it just goes directly to the project manager. Then after the project manager reviews it, if it's less than $10,000, it goes to accounting to review, to validate funds in the account, validate what's being invoiced, and then it's done. It's processed. If it's yep, it does. With every single process, you see it in 2 different locations, at least 2.
Yes, that's the problem I had.
You want to get paid. What's going on? Right here. This is just training information, or sorry, test data right here. That's why nothing is here. But for that process, for the payment process, invoice approval pay app, this is the name of the subject line, whose court it's in, the individuals responsible right here, how long it's been sitting there, since this date, created on this date, the entire process age date, and it's currently in the receive status. So you can easily identify whose court it's in and how long it's been there. Then once you're inside of the process, if you want that graphical view, you click on that Show Workflow Diagram. There's a link in there once you start that process off. And you can see wherever that box will be, that's where it's at.
So I have a question for UCF. Is this going to eliminate the FO invoices email when we submit our invoicing?
I'm sorry?
When we submit our invoices, I usually send an email to, I think it's FO invoices. That's how I submit our invoicing. Is this going to eliminate that? Like, will this be how we submit our billing from now on?
You'll submit your billing for projects that are in the e-builder.
Right.
If you're talking, are you talking about for facilities operations?
Yeah.
Okay, yes, they would be using this as well.
Okay, alright, just want to make sure.
Yeah, as long as your project is in here,
Right.
and the commitment's been created, you should be able to invoice against it. Have you worked with Alyssa Cruz?
Yes.
Yeah, she's been one of the core teams that have been helping to design and develop this, make those decisions. So yeah. So once a project manager has it, they will review it. If it's less than 10,000, it goes to accounting. If it's greater than 10,000, it goes to accounting to validate. After they validate it, then it goes to the associate director. Straightforward paths. If it goes to the associate director, they review it, they approve of it. It goes in this path right here. So if it's less than 50,000, it goes back to accounting to review again. If it's greater than 50,000, it goes to the director for them to review. As you can see, they can kick it back to the previous person. That is the invoice approval payout process.
So when you go in here and so you've been sent this for review and you, I'm assuming you put comments in, and then you say, is it post or something? What do you do or approve? The system will automatically send it to the next person on the flow chart. You don't have to select which person.
Nope.
You're just doing your thing and then you're passing the ball to somebody else.
Yes.
If you, is like, if I get it as an AE, is it literally approve or reject? So
Correct.
If I press reject, it's automatically going to go back for that flow chart. If I say approve,
It goes forward.
10-4.
Yep.
I wanted to ask the dumb question.
Very structured. Very structured. Structured workflows. Very rigid in how it routes. That's to gain a lot of consistency in how UCF does things. So at any point in time, so for example right here, let me show you. This is with the AE review. I'm going to switch my hat. The ball is in my court right now. Here's that invoice. This is my other personality. It's in my court. I go into that process. Some instructions are there to mark up the documents. I can review what's being invoiced and show current actor. My name is there. I accidentally put 2 people in this process, but that's fine. Here's the diagram. That blue box, that's where it's at. If I have an issue with it, approve to PM or revise to the initiator. That's it right there. Revise to initiator. Take that action. I am required to put my comment in there. Click on the button, and it goes back to the initiator automatically. You don't need to select who to go to. It's off of my court. It's out of my court right here. If I wanted to find it, I can click on processes, the bird's eye view. These are all the open processes that have been used on my projects. I can see the process, project number, project name. If I have multiple projects under my belt, type, permit tracker, contractor payout, potential change order, financial completion, substantial completion. Sorry, not substantial. Final and project closeout. This is just a counter, PCO, PCO, CO, PMT, the subject line, the current step. Remember those steps that we go through? It identifies it right here. You can see it. You can track them down. You can hunt down this person right here and say, hey, it's been sitting in your court for 8 days or 12, 10, whatever days. Everybody that has access to this project can see that and track it down and see what's going on. Even though this is not in my court, I am an architect right now, it's in the project manager's court, I can still go back in and add a comment and say, hey, what's going on with this? You guys will probably like that. I'm in an architect role right now. It's in the project manager's court, so it's in this person's court. I can go back in for this PCO. I can go back in, but I cannot take some type of action to move it. It's not in my court. That's why I don't have any buttons at the top to do anything with it. But I can certainly add a comment to it. There's a comment tab right here. Or you can use this button right here. Either or. Let me check my spelling. Add my comment. That person will get that notification. Your comment is also recorded in the system, date and timestamp. I can't move it forward, but I can certainly ping that person once again. All you need to do is go into their process and look at the screen, follow whatever is available to do. Understandable? Make sense? Okay, for you AEs in here, we have the drawing and design review process, so everyone else can kind of zone out. For you guys, go ahead and go back into your project. Go into your project, start process. We're going to review the drawing and design review process. So if I'm in my processes screen right here, I'm going to click on start process, and so I can get that list of processes that I can start. Drawing and design review. Sorry, design plan review. Okay, where are my AEs? Okay. Are you in this process right now? 04? Sorry, your name again?
Jeff Kirkman.
Jeff? Can you double check his role? You said you don't have that process on your list?
They're just correct.
It's what?
They're just correct.
Oh, you do have it. Do you?
No, I've got one.
Oh, no, you're in the same screen as me. You're in the same screen as me. You're fine. So, again, in processes, when I clicked on Start Process, as an AE, I only have the ability to start 2 processes in the system. So, depending on your role, you can start a certain process, but that does not mean you don't participate in that other process that you can't start. So remember that, not remember, but a good example would be like substantial completion. PMs and contractors can start that process off. You cannot, but eventually you will be a reviewer in that process. So as an AE, in the AE role, I can start these 2 processes off. I'm starting off that 04 drawing and design plan review. Looking at this form, this screen, you're going to click on that drop-down menu and indicate the review type. Program docs, SD, DD, CD, whatever percentage it is. Let's do DD 50%. Then you're going to drill down to your DD 50% section and upload your file there. Those of you on your own laptop, go ahead and upload some picture or something, some type of file. You can upload it into that specific section that pertains to your view type. Then when you scroll further down, you will upload your critical needs checklist. It's another required field. Once you upload it, the little status icon turns green. Click upload. Now we have a section for plan review comments. If this is the first time you're uploading the drawings in here, you're not really going to use this. But essentially that's it. You just upload your 2 files and you click submit. Okay, so far? Upload your drawings in its respective section, indicate the review type, upload your critical needs checklist, the attachment, and then that's pretty much it. You're going to click submit. That starts off that process. What does that process look like? So the workflow for this process goes like this. You are here. You submitted your designs, your drawings. It goes to the project manager. They have a series of steps that they need to follow. The instructions on their screen. They take your drawings, they email to all departments that need to, all of the departments that need to review it. Clock starts. That email that they sent out has a series of spreadsheet, and that spreadsheet is going to be used by the departments to provide their feedback on. 2 weeks later, 10 days later, the clock stops. So they stop it right here, and then they consolidate all of the comments in the system. We'll see that right now. So they essentially will be the person consolidating all of the comments from feedback and feedback from other departments. Okay. To move this process forward, I needed to indicate which departments I sent it out to. Okay, so 10 days have lapsed. As the project manager on the project, I see a series of instructions that I need to follow. And I'm going to take my feedback from the clients and import those comments into this process. Let me just find my comments here. Okay, there he is. All right, so what's happened here is I'm the project manager on the project, and I've consolidated all of the comments that were essentially added into a spreadsheet and returned to me. This is what that spreadsheet looks like. You will be able to see this as attachments in that process as well. You will have the reviewer's name, their comments, the column for specs, and then of course columns for notes and statuses. Then they import it, the project managers import it into eBuilder, and this is what it looks like in eBuilder right here. That spreadsheet that I had up, this is what it looks like. It'll have all of their comments on there. You can view them, or you can download what you see here. But as a project manager, I'm going to import it into eBuilder, and then I'm going to take this to AE review comments action. That will then push that into your court right here. So let me do that. For my AEs, what projects are you guys on? Which one? 10? Let me update yours. your project 2. Okay, you should get something in your court in a moment. All right, number 3, and to your left. Number 3 and.
Oh, I didn't do this. Oh, I'm sorry.
You didn't start that process off?
I didn't submit. No,
Okay.
I didn't have anything to upload.
Okay, so for my AEs that have work in their court, if you go back to the home page, you'll see something there, or if you're still on the process screen and you select process in my court and click filter, depending on what process type you have selected, you'll see something there. You guys see that? So, the ball's in your court. Now you have to go and review all of the comments in that grid down below. And you can click into that table to update it accordingly. Add your comments and update the status of it, which is going to be that last one, either it's open or closed. Let me do that on my screen right now. Okay, so here it is on my screen. My AE roll on, and the grids are all, the comments are all listed on this table down below. So as you review each particular item, you're going to add your feedback underneath the architect response. Save it, pretty much do the same thing, click on that. And underneath status, you're going to indicate if it's open or closed. If you click into that box, you'll have a drop-down menu. That's pretty much what you're working off of. Now, as I understand, you probably want to carry forward these comments into the next set of drawing, into the next review, right? If you have some open items that are still there. So what you can do is download this table, save it as an attachment, and attach it in the very next time you use this process. Or you could import it the same way that I brought it in here. There's that little import button right here. you can import it back into the grid for your next review. So all of your history from before, it's contained in the very next review instance, that you use. Make sense? The instructions are there as well. Down below, I have instructions for the PM. Then down below here, comment consolidation instructions. Now before you can close out this process, at the very bottom, just a little legal disclaimer. That's a required field before you can take action to finish off this process. Any questions about this process? The instructions are pretty much right there laid out on the screen. If you have comments, you can add comments to the comments tab. You can reach out to other people if you need to, request external comment. Yes?
The intent is to replace processes in effect right now, is that correct? Or are we duplicating?
Oh, no.
This is yep. Projects that start in eBuilder, they'll finish in eBuilder. Now, there's a number of processes that eBuilder was scoped to build out, about 10 of them, and 3 additional ones, so a total of 13 for 3 for permitting. That doesn't mean that UCF will use only those processes. They can build their own processes in time. So what process that you guys see and interact with on a daily basis, eventually it will make its way into eBuilder by the team building it out. The same thing with forms. They can build out that themselves. It's just we're starting off with these number of processes to begin with. Another thing to note is like the projects. I'm not sure which projects will be coming into eBuilder like next week or in the coming weeks or even a month from now. So check with your project managers if their project or the project that you're on will come into eBuilder. Now, any project that's up to 30% likely is a candidate to come into eBuilder. 30% of the total project lifecycle. It's a candidate that it could come into eBuilder. But if it's beyond that 30%, it might not make it into eBuilder. Clear? Is that clear? All right. Any additional questions about processes? Okay, so if there aren't any questions about processes, I'm going to move right into submittals. So if you could just stay with, just watch on my screen while I go through the submittals module. Like anything else, everything will live within that particular project. So if you're going to work with submittals, your project should be in the system. I'm going to click on project right here and select the project that I see on my screen. So that brings me into this particular project. On the left-hand side, I have the submittals button. I'm going to click on this one. And now I'm inside of the submittals module itself. This one I had already started working with. That's why I have some items down below. Let me jump into another project where I don't have anything set up just yet. So, and let me switch my role. I'm going to log in as my contractor. So the contractors, you guys are going to be the one in charge of your submittals. You're uploading it into eBuilder. Go into your project. Click on submittals on the left-hand side. That brings you into the submittals module. So at this point, I'm in the submittals settings for my project. Your coordinator will be your AE. For now, I'm going to select this guy since I don't have an AE on this particular project. This default folder will be set automatically, so you don't have to worry about that. And plus, you don't actually have permissions to set folders, so you can ignore that part. If you want to notify somebody else on this in this module when you're exchanging your submittals, the packages, you can identify who you want to notify. So you would select their name, move them over to the box on the right, and then they will be notified. I'm not going to notify April right now. CSI list, yes, we're going to use it. If you're importing your CSI list, you have to identify which version that you're going to import. 95, 2012, 2004. I have a 2012 list, so I'll use that. Submittals item spec section populated by CSI code. We have an option there. Auto numbering of packages. I'll leave it to the standard options here. Honor auto close status. So that means if I approve of it, it'll automatically close that package. Allow revisions to be added to existing packages. So that's, again, that's completely up to you if you want to allow revision items to be added on those existing packages. Sorry, I had a separate thought in my head here. That's an option that you can set. Once you've made those settings, you pretty much save it. Now, the meat and potatoes of this is, here's your registry right here. You're going to want to import that file directly into eBuilder. So I have a sample on my computer to import. If I can find it. Here's my sample, my 2012 version. You're going to want to put all of your items into this template per se so that you can easily import it into the system. Look familiar? So I'm going to click import, select my file, and upload it into eBuilder. So I'm at step 2 of 3. Title, match the title in my file. Spec section, match the spec section in my file. Pretty much everything here should be populated. You don't have to worry about this error message. That's fine. But you want to make sure that you have a title and a category in your file so it can be easily picked up by eBuilder when you upload your file. Click next. Then the system will give you, it'll parse through the information. It'll kind of filter out your file, how many records you have in there, and how many records will be imported. They should match. If they don't match, that means if you have 626 records in your file, and this says like 26, only 26 is going to be read. That means you have some kind of issue with your file. You have to make some type of corrections on it. I have 626 in my file. I have 626 items that will be imported. No exceptions. That's good. No exceptions. No error messages. So that's good. If you run into an error message, you'll see it listed here. Sometimes it's difficult to understand what those error messages are. So at this point, you can probably contact the eBuilder support team to try to isolate what that means. Preview row 2. So you have a sample of what that looks like in eBuilder. The title, spec section, manufacturer, due date, return date, delivery date, so on and so forth. Click import. So that brings it into eBuilder. The submittal registry has been successfully imported. Fine. Click finish. Here is our registry, all of our items. Okay with me? All right. A very important note, search in. Make sure that you have this set appropriately, because otherwise it can make you go a little crazy like it did to me recently. I imported my registry and I couldn't find it on the system, and I didn't notice the option where it wasn't pending my review, and I couldn't see anything on my screen. And so you want to make sure you're searching in all items in the system, and especially item status is open, closed, draft, or overdue. You want to be careful with these filters. So when you want to create your package, so I'm going to filter on my mockups, select my category, click filter. That'll only filter up my mockups. So now I want to add these to a package and send it out to review. I'm going to select all of them. So rather than clicking on every single item here, I'm going to click on this little this button right here, or this checkbox right here, which will automatically select all of the items for my mockup. And then I'm going to add it to a package. Everything needs to go out in a package. Even if it's one item, it needs to be packaged up. Create a new submittal package. Because I don't have anything new, I don't have an existing package in here. Click continue. So here's my project. The package number, submittal package detail, description, trade. So how many of you guys have memorized your CSI codes? Do you guys remember, or have you guys memorized that huge list? Which CSI code would this be under? Installation, sheet material, shop drawings, grid, verification, tile verification samples, hardware, shop drawings, and all that. Do you remember by heart? Because this doesn't filter it.
Spec section, oh.
You've got a bunch of different ones there.
Yeah, that's a bad file. Sorry, but do you remember that? Let me see. Let me try to remember. 0070 was it? Conditions of the contract? No, 40. But if you memorize your CSI list, you can easily start to type in the numbers and filter off the submittal package number, so you can identify that. Give it a package name. You can type in your own package name if you wanted to right here, but it would help if you already knew the code. I don't work with submittals that often, so I don't know all the codes, or any of them really. Give it a description. That's completely optional. But essentially, once you have all your items here, you have your package number, your submittal package name, click save, and there goes, you're packaging it up right now. On this project, here's the title. It's my procurement package. This is the number for it. Date created, baseline start range. It's in a draft state because I haven't sent it to anyone yet. So to send it out, I want to go to my submittal packages button on the left-hand side, and then select that package. As you build your packages, you'll have multiple packages here. Select your package, and then send it out for review. So this person is my coordinator. Set my completion review date, so 10 days out. I'll just do business days. You can CC other people on that notification, and you can CC other users. And if the person's not in the system, you can type in their email address. Type in a message. Here are the here are the items in that package. And then let me see. I'm sending it over. That's my coordinator right there. Send it to another person. And then essentially click on that send for review. Yep. I think I have to select the folder in here. Let me do one more thing. Project 08. I need to change a configuration in here, so just bear with me a moment. All right. Yep. Okay. So for this particular section right here, it usually says to select a folder because when this package goes out, it's allowing that external person to upload a file or an attachment. Since you guys are all external users to UCF, you don't have that access to identify which folder. So if you ever run into the issue that I just did right now, where this folder doesn't exist and you can't send out that package, you'll need to contact the project manager who will actually set this folder up right here. So let me do that again. Send for review. My folder is already set, so that means I'm good to go. Set my review completion due date. No one's getting CC'd. No users getting CC'd. Type in someone else that can get that package outside of eBuilder. Type in my message. And send for review. So on the home page, remember that section I mentioned where the submittals items will live? For you AEs, you guys are the coordinator. They could designate, they could send something to you in your court to actually review, and you would see it right here in your court. So let me check if this was sent out already. This has gone out, so I sent out that package. It's currently open, and it's held by the project manager.
Is the standard package numbering the first digit is the sequential number of how the packages got sent out, and the next series is always the number that you put in it, if you will?
This one right here?
Yeah. Because I know contractors and AE firms like to sort based on the CSI number, not necessarily the package for which they went out of UCF's. I mean, that's how we manage that to our sub-consultants and what have you. And I know the all the contractors manage them that way as well, because they want to know which discipline they're getting their packages in and out of. I'm just curious if this, you can run queries based on that, or do we have to just take the number as it is?
Let me check on that. Let me do that. Let me create another package right now. I believe it will actually just incrementally on that very first digit, it'll increment it there. Now on revisions, it's incrementing on the very last number.
Tail end.
Yes, on the tail end of that.
That first digit's then gonna literally, you're gonna look at the package list, and it's gonna be all out of whack. They're not gonna be by discipline and by CS number, and that's gonna drive everybody crazy.
No.
Hard enough to find some middles when you know the number. I'm just sorry to ask the small job who's parents put on a medium-sized project.
Okay, let's see. Looks like it incremented it. Yep. Unless you just use that middle number instead.
Alright, feedback, y'all want on the internally, that's fine. Keep going.
That's fine. Thumbs down.
I
Yeah, that's good. No, that actually is good feedback.
I mean, the first big project, guarantee you that's coming up.
So you also
That's a train wreck.
feedback that you all is a lot of times more valuable than what we try to
Or at least the ability to query it.
Mm-hmm.
I get the sequential value for that. So I've got to be able to query by that.
So, since this middle item is now in my court, I'm going to click on that package number, or I can click on the number, either one. These are all clickable links. Click on the package number, and I can be redirected right into the actual package. I can go right into it. I can forward this to review, this specific item, to someone else to review. So I can send it to anyone else that's on the project, or if they're external to the system, type in their email address, set a respond by date, CC other users or roles. Same functionality you'll see throughout, forwarding or sending it to your subs to review. You basically send it out. You can update the status. Accepted as noted, approved, for record only, on hold, reject, revise, and resubmit. These are the statuses that are standard in there. And save. So this is in accepted as noted. Then you pretty much work down your package. Go back in and work down that list. You can do it all in bulk, not in bulk, but all at once down this drop-down menu, or you can go into every single one individually. You can select a particular item, send it to a contractor, or forward it for review, or so you can route it around. Yes?
Going back to where you select the status, say that we did select revise and submit, or we needed to like attach questions or comments to it, how do we do that?
So we have,
Like say the engineer reviewed it and they had 3 or 4 comments.
so right next to this actual item here, there's a little paper clip. That's where you can add your attachment next to that item, and we have a little comment box right here.
Okay, so you select the status and then you can upload comments for the document.
Whatever, yeah, upload your attachment. Just drag and drop that document right there. Attach. There's the file. Oh, sorry. Cancel out. And you see that little 1 right next to it? Let me. Oh. That means there's 1 attachment to there. And if I wanted to send this particular item to a contractor to review, oops, that's not in a new status, sorry. There we go. Select it, that item, send it to someone else to review. Same functionality all over. You can send it out or you can send it to somebody on the project. Add your message and send. If you forget a step or two, or you're questioning about, what you're seeing on the page, if you click on that little question mark in the top right hand corner, the little help screen will open up. And then you can look right here under submittals. You have all these help guides, or the overview, the general task, subcontractor task, so on and so forth, that can guide you on the information that you're seeing on the screen. So that's the submittals module. All right. One more item that I wanted to show you guys is the schedule. So that was mentioned earlier that the project managers manage the schedule on the project, and they should keep it up to date. So, although you guys don't really interact with in here, this is primarily done by the project manager, and they will rearrange these tasks as they see fit. Let me just change my view here. Put my contractor hat on. If you're inside of your projects right now, you can click on that schedule button on the left-hand side. And you can see the current schedule of the project. On a real project, almost all projects in eBuilder, they should have an associated schedule with it. Project managers will be maintaining this on a bi-weekly, if not a monthly basis, to keep it up to date. So for a quick view, this is one place to look at the schedule. You can expand this column. It's going to be a little bit difficult if you can hover over that little line on the right hand side between the actual table and your Gantt chart. You can adjust the screen so that you can see the name of the task, the duration, start date, finish date. And let me see if I can pull over the completion column. If you have a larger screen, then that really helps. But these are the basic columns that come with it. Additional columns can be added. But now you have visibility of the schedule. So when a project starts up and you have access into that project and you want to look at the full-blown schedule of how things are laid out so that they don't contact you at the last minute and say, hey, I need something next week, you can see it in advance. And they should be maintaining this. For any eBuilder project, they actually need to update this before the project even starts. They need to get with the client and update it. So once you get assigned to this particular project, then you have visibility of it. When I mentioned earlier, if they mark you as a resource, they would indicate it here. Not here, but well, they would indicate it right here. And if you see your name here, that means on the home page, as that particular date approaches, you're going to see an item here. It's all dependent upon the project manager and how they are managing the project. they can use the full functionality of the system and identify certain resources or users as a resource for a particular task. And then when that task approaches, you get something in your court that is due to update the percentage complete, add your comment, maybe even request a new completion date or finish date for that task. It always depends on the project manager and how they're managing it. But overall, this is the schedule right here.
Just show them how to collapse the sidebar.
For those of you with laptops, if you wanted to see more of that schedule on your screen, at the very top left-hand area of your screen, you'll see these double arrows right here. If you click on that, your menu bar on the left collapses, and now you can see your schedule a little bit better. But overall, this is a schedule on the project. This is how you access it. You have to be inside of that project. Any questions about everything we've covered so far? We're coming close to 12 o'clock. Okay. Any questions that you want to revisit? Any particular module? Yes, no? All right. If you guys would, so we can end it right now. So in your projects, one more thing for you to do, go back into your projects, go into the project details. So click on projects at the top, select your project. I'm not going to do it on my screen. I want to see if you guys can navigate to that. Click on the projects tab at the top, click on the name of your project. That takes you into project details, right? Remember that little link in the project webcam? Click on that link. It's a link to a survey. I'm in projects right now. I'm going to go into my training project. Here's that link, project webcam. Click on it. It will open up a survey. Please fill it out. And then you are free to go after that.
Thanks everyone for your time today.
Thank you.